بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الخلق أجمعين. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وارحمنا واهدنا واهد بنا وعافنا يا ربنا وزدنا علما يا رحمن يا رحيم. اللهم يا ربنا اجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا قيامنا وتقبل منا صلاتنا وتقبل منا دعاءنا في رمضان يا رب العالمين. Inshallah, today we will be shedding some light on Surah Al-A'raf, and it is from the 7 lengthy surah in the Quran. We completed yesterday a little bit of, we shed a little bit of light, some thoughts on Surah Al-An'am, and today Surah Al-A'raf. Surah Al-A'raf, it revolves around one concept. It revolves around the concept of people who are Muslims. They are not fully committed to Islam. They're not fully committed to the deen. They are in a state of, some kind of hesitation in everything that they're doing in their deen. And that is the worst thing anybody could do, not just in the deen, in anything they do. Can you imagine a doctor who's not fully committed for being a doctor? He says, you know what, I'm a part-time doctor. I don't care very much about my trade. I'm basically a runner, or I am or I own business, or I do something else. I'm not, my heart is not into it. That will never make him a good doctor. Actually, will become worse than no doctor at all, because he is claiming to be a doctor, but he's not really a good doctor. Can you imagine somebody who's a teacher, is not fully committed to teaching? He says, you know what, I'm just passing some time right now, but what I really want is, for me to be like, say, a writer, I want to be an actor, I want to be something else. That is the worst thing we could do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing this issue with humanity overall, the non-commitment. And today, subhanAllah, is so clear in front of us. We see how many millions of, and how many millions of Muslims around the world, how many of them are really fully committed? Some of us are blatantly, we look at each other and say, I am a non-practicing Muslim. Or somebody else would walk up and say, you know what, I'm a Muslim, I was born into Islam, and I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you know what, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me, the hidayat or the guidance later on in my life. I'm on. Where's the commitment? The very first ayah here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كِتَابٌ أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ فَلَا يَكُنْ فِي صَدْرِكَ حَرَجٌ مِّنْهُ لِتُنذِرَ بِهِ وَذِكْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. A book it's been revealed on you. فَلَا يَكُنْ فِي صَدْرِكَ. Do not allow it to be in your chest. Any kind of haraj, any kind of burden, any kind of issues with you, for you to take it, to grab it, to believe in it, and for you to warn others with this book, with this deen, with this Islam. وَذِكْرَى لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and remembrance for the believers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in a very direct way, اتَّبِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكُم مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا مِن دُونِهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ. Follow what has been revealed upon you from your Rabb, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do not follow any awliya, any attorneys, any people, any things, any entities are nowhere near in the status of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. A little bit how you happen to remember these facts, what you're supposed to do. And if you notice this, the name of Surah Al-A'raf, the name A'raf comes in from urf. Urf means to be known, right? And from what you say, أَمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَانْهَى عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, right? Or we say ma'ruf and munkar. It is what it is. But we say today also, in the name of, look at the upper part of the rooster. That's, the red part on top of the rooster, that's called urf. Because you would know what it is. You would know that this is a rooster, it's not a chicken, basically, with the size and the height of the urf. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah talks about the A'raf. The A'raf here, they happen to be, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making an example of the people who are not fully committed here on the face of this earth. In the day of judgment, they will land somewhere between Jannah and between hellfire. And this place would be between both, will be called Al-A'raf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about them specifically of what they land, because of non-commitment, how they were wishy-washy here on the face of this earth, they will land similarly in the day of judgment, in a place right in between. The scholar said that the people of Araf are people who their good deeds are not good enough to take them to Jannah, and their bad deeds are not bad enough to take them to the hellfire. So they will land somewhere on top of a mountain, on top of an upper area. They will be looking at the people of the Jannah on one side. They will be looking at the people of the hellfire on the other side. They will be looking at the people of Jannah, and they could see the people walking in, groups after groups, Zumara, clan after clan, tribe after tribe, nation after nation. They're walking inside the Jannah, and they'll be looking at that Jannah and say, "Yeah." They'll be saying, "Ya Allah, make us from the ones who can land in Jannah and enter the Jannah." And they look on the other side and they see the people of the hellfire and say, "Ya Allah, do not let us go in there. Do not make us enter the hellfire." They'll be stuck in there. For how long? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. They'll be stuck in between. Is same way they were stuck in between here on the face of this earth. They took the name of Islam, but they never committed to it. They said we are Muslims, but they never really practiced it properly or fully. They said we are fully Muslims, but they never really did 100% what's required of them to do. They will be landing the day of judgment somewhere between the hellfire and the Jannah. They don't go to the Jannah immediately. They don't go to the hellfire at all. They'll end up somewhere in between. And some scholars that eventually they will end up going to the Jannah. But after what? There will be some of the last groups who will enter the Jannah only with the rahmah and the intercession of some of the prophets, some of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will intercede on the behalf of them to enter the Jannah eventually. But after what? 1,000 years? 2,000 years? 3,000 years? 10,000 years? 50,000 years? Allahu A'lam, when the day of judgment ends, everybody will end up either in the Jannah or in the hellfire. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us a few examples of these, actually 7 different examples of 7 different nations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts with Adam alayhi salam. Adam alayhi salam. Adam alayhi salam, how...
Brother, your microphone is breaking up. Can you fix it a little bit?
That's the best I could do, brother. We have a little bit of internet connection. If you shut down your video on your end, it might help a little bit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alam. But we'll do the best that we can.
It takes up a lot of bandwidth with the video. So video turning off, I think, during the talk would be better.
Right. We'll do our best we can, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy on us, inshallah. So ultimately, if you turn off the video on your end, that would be helpful, inshallah. For the better connection, at least you could hear me better, you could see me, and eventually, inshallah, we're going to go ahead and make an open halaqah at the end of this, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the beginning of the surah talks about the story of Adam alayhi salam. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed him. This is ayah number 19. وَيَا آدَمُ اسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةَ فَكُلَا مِنْهَا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةَ فَتَكُونَا مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Go to Jannah, dwell in the Jannah, and do not approach a tree. An order, just a tree. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designated tree. He says, you can eat anything and anywhere, but do not approach one tree. فَأَكَلَا مِنْهَا. الشيطان وسوسة to him. He planted the idea, and eventually what happened is that they saw things they were not supposed to see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed them their imperfections. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after they committed that sin of violating the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they showed their imperfections. They saw the sawat, the indecencies of what they have. All of a sudden they found themselves naked. They never noticed that they were naked before. They started to cover themselves with the leaves from the tree, and on and on. And then that was the very first story where the shaitan made zalal. He made a full, it was actually one with his job. He got Adam alayhi salam off of the Jannah, but he was not completely successful, because Adam alayhi salam repented. He made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him his sins and allow him to live in his descendants here on the face of this earth. And this is where we come from. The second story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the second nation out of 7. And this is the first one, Adam alayhi salam, is the story of Nuh alayhi salam, how the very first message, and this is the ayah number 59, where he says, قال فقال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. What was the very first thing Nuh alayhi salam said? O my people, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have no deity, nobody else for you to worship but Him. اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. You have no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إني أخاف عليكم عذاب يوم عظيم. I am afraid for you a torturous day. What did they do? They rejected. They denied. What happened is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drowned them. And then that was the argument that showed up. What they told him said, oh, you are so astray. You went so astray off the path. You have so much dalala. You are so misguided according to their standards. You are so misguided. And then he persisted and persisted, but they denied. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drowned every and last one of them, except the 70 people who went with him on top of the ark or the ship. The second story here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran as an example of the second nation, Ad, the people of Ad. And this is the ayah number 65. وَإِلَىٰ عَادٍ أَخُوهُمْ هُودًا. The people of Ad and their prophet is called Hud alayhi salam. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. Oh my people, worship Allah. The same message got repeated again. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have no deity worthy of worship except Him. The same as Nuh alayhi salam has mentioned. They told him, oh, you're acting out of stupidity and silliness. What are you talking about? All the gods have become one? What are you saying to us? And he said, bring it on. And he argued with them. And he says, I am the prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm bringing the message to you. They denied and they rejected. And they actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought to them the torture and removed them off of the face of this earth. And they no longer are in the place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for them. The next group or the next nation are the people of Thamud and their prophet Salih alayhi salam. قَالَ قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Thamud is a little bit different. They challenged their prophet, Salih alayhi salam. After argument, he said, bring us a proof. If you bring us a proof, we will believe you. We will follow you. And he says, anything you want, but you promise me, if I bring you that proof, you're going to follow me. They said, absolutely, 100%. They said, well, can you make this rock? They pointed at a rock. He said, can you make this rock get pregnant and give birth to a camel? And Thamud and Salih alayhi salam, he says, I will make that dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua, and he made that rock give birth to a camel. But the condition was, this camel get to drink one day out of the water, and the people get to drink its milk. They are not allowed to touch the water that day. The second day, the camel, they don't get to touch the milk from the camel, and they can only drink the water. So they exchange one day this way, one day that way. And subhanAllah, their kibar, their arrogance, their defiance, they went out, they sent 7 or 9 of their rahat, the other surah explain who they are. They slaughtered it, they killed it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to them the adab, removed them off of the face of this earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them so much, gave them mountains to live in and gave them valleys for them to live in. Gave him castles inside the mountains and gave him tents in the valleys. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed everything they have, and he put them back to nothingness again. Ila Madian, the next nation, the people of Madian and their prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam. He said the same message. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُمْ مِنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. And this is the ayah number 85. قَدْ جَاءَتْكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ. These people were cheaters. They used to cheat each other. They used to steal from each other. Say, make kail, make mizan, put the scale. Do not cheat each other. SubhanAllah, we don't think too much of it. But if a nation is cheaters, they are the ones who steal the rights of others. They transgress against each other. They have no right to survive and live here on the face of this earth. That is the main cause of their destruction and the removal. And that was the people of Midian. Great metropolis. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Shu'aib to them to straighten their path. And of course, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the very first message. To believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do everything for His sake. They denied, they rejected. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed them off of the face of this earth and took them away. And of course, the people of Musa alayhi salam, the people of Musa alayhi salam, and the altercation between him, the incident between him and Fir'aun. After Musa alayhi salam battled Fir'aun with everything that he had. And this is the most beautiful way of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the 7 ayat. Actually, the ultimately 9 ayat, 9 different ayat, to force Fir'aun after he rejected. Fir'aun stood there. He's the owner of all. He's the strongest man. And he talked clearly. He says, you know, I am the Rabbul, I'm your Rabb. You're the one who sustains you. I'm the one who gives you. I'm the one who gives you sustenance. I'm the one who gives you food. I'm the one who controls you. You worship me, right? Musa alayhi salam was sent to him with a clear message to allow Bani Israel to leave. But of course, for him, Fir'aun to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ultimately. But the main message, the main purpose of Musa alayhi salam to release and relieve Bani Israel from the control, the tyranny of Fir'aun. And he rejected. He showed him 2 ayah. Number 1 was obviously the clear hand or the glowing hand when he pulled it out of his, out of his thawb, inside his chest. And the other one was the cane that turned into a snake. Did he believe? No, he didn't. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hit him with 2 more ayat, which is the drought and the famine. He did not believe, still rejected, still did not go. And this is the ayah number 133. وَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمُ الطُّوفَانَ, and then he sent them more ayat in totality between the first one all the way to the last one. There were 9 ayat. وَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمُ الطُّوفَانَ, we sent to them the flood. وَالْجَرَادِ, the grasshoppers, or the what's called jarad, to jarad, it eats up everything. Eats up everything they had. Number 3, وَالْقُمَّلِ, lice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent lice on their bodies, start to eat them up and to suck up their blood. وَالضَّفَادِعَ, sent to them frogs all over their nation. وَالدَّمْ, and the blood. آيَاتِ مُفَصَّلَاتِ, and this is the ones we have here, 5 different ones: Tufan, the flood, the grasshoppers, the locust, the qummal is the lice, the father is the frogs, with them and is the blood. And we talked about this intensively. The Tufan is, subhanAllah, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the drought, and there's no fruit, nothing to eat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, took the water away from them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought what next? Brought the flood, flooded them. He did not believe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent another ayah, jarad. And the word jarad in the Arabic language means to jarrid, is to make somebody, to take away something, to take away everything from somebody. You jarrid. Like, for instance, if you say to somebody, jarradahu min amwalihi, means, jarrad means to take away all his money, all of it. So they sent him some kind of insect, took away everything away from them. They did not believe. Well, qummal, we talked about the lice. Who get hit with the lice, brothers? You know who does? No personal hygiene. They became so dirty, so filthy because of all these disasters Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent on them. They don't care about cleansing anymore. They become like, completely unclean people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the lice on them to suck up their blood. And then the father, and people, subhanAllah, when you watch this movie about Musa alayhi salam, we find the frogs, how attacked, the kingdom of Fir'aun. Well, here the father, some of the scholars said, is that because that the father, what they do, the frogs, what they do is they continuously produce noise for them not to allow anybody else to sleep, continuously noise. In other words, he hit them with insomnia, took sleep away from them. The frogs themselves, they don't have a lot of harm they could do to somebody, as much as they would actually produce so much noise in the middle of the quietness of the night to deprive people from sleep. Still did not believe. And then the dam, the blood. And you see the movie where the blood was actually in the Nile and on and on. But the meaning here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alam, is that their blood become cheap. Do you remember the beginning where Musa alayhi salam, when he pushed the Coptic guy who belonged to the castle, And the whole thing broke loose because of this, because one Coptic, one of the followers of Pharaoh got killed. They investigated, they found out who killed them, they chased, Musa alayhi salam, they want to, punish him because he did the killing. But at the end, the blood becomes cheap. When a nation, the blood becomes so cheap, when you're walking down the street, you find bodies laying around, you find people buried in mass graves, when you find, people bodies getting burned because they don't want to bury them anymore, the blood becomes cheap, and that is the meaning of the blood, including the son of Pharaoh, where eventually when he saw this in front of him, he allowed them to leave. And you could see the argument here between, and the two layers between Pharaoh and Musa alayhi salam on one side, and between the people of Musa alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam on the other side. And then how he crossed the river with them, or he crossed the ocean with them, or the sea with them, the Red Sea on the other side. And then what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the guidance, for him to bring the Torah, and on and on. Surah Al-A'raf, brothers, is to push us, to remind us to be straightforward, active Muslims. Activity, to submit to Islam, to truly take that cause in our hands. Sometimes you think of it as like, somebody's a Muslim who you may make salah at home and he doesn't attend the masjid except a few times a year, or maybe only for the salah to Jum'ah. You say he's a Muslim. He's a good Muslim, possibly. He pays a little bit of zakah, he pays a little bit. But what happened to really fully going forward with the full force with Islam? To go forward with all the meanings, with all the rules, with all the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam. To be truly like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, Ubay ibn Ka'b, the reciter of the Quran, Khalid ibn Walid, the fighter, the warrior, like Umar ibn Khattab, the one who follows the haqq no matter what it went, whose shaitan runs away from him. Where is Uthman ibn Affan, the soft-hearted, the reciter of the Quran, the leader who would not allow people to get into conflict, even at his own expense? Ali ibn Abi Talib, he took Islam from early on, from 6 or 7 years old or 8 years old, all the way throughout his life. And he held on to the flag of Islam, and on about the rest of the great Sahaba. We have a chance, brothers and sisters, in this month of Ramadan, inshallah, for us to fully submit to our deen, to fully give it all what we have, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take us in with His rahmah, with His maghfirah, with His giving, with His support, inshallah. We'll reach higher levels every single night, inshallah. Up to Laylatul Qadr, we'll reach, inshallah, the highest level. We'll reach with the highest level of reward, inshallah. All our sins will be forgiven, and we'll reach the ultimate place, inshallah, and our iman getting stronger and stronger, getting better and better. As some of the scholars said, that if you enter Ramadan at the beginning of it and you exit at the end of it, and you are on the same level of iman, the same level of worship, the same level of ibadah, the same level of dhikr, Ramadan did not affect you the way you should be. It should affect you. Should not do the influence on you that it should. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our hearts, our minds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our sins, make us in a better place, inshallah.